Hey, we are live,
Woo.
and today we're going to talk about the three things the lender can do to get my realtor referrals, as well as my friends. Welcome back, Zach.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, and we were just talking a little bit about this. In some ways, it's kind of simple.
Right.
Um, you know, you find a realtor that's going to be in business for a while, you help them grow their business, and then you build a relationship with them. In
Right.
some ways, it's really that simple, right?
I'm just glad that it has nothing to do with the big white van and the candy. So, you have me sold right now. We're on a good path.
Yeah, yeah. And luckily I sold my van, right?
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah, yeah. And so, the first thing is, I say find a realtor that's going to be in business for a while.
Okay.
And
How do you find a realtor that's going to be in business for a while? What maybe makes the difference between a realtor in business for a while versus somebody who's maybe just gonna, I don't know, peter out?
yeah, yeah. So, one of my favorite my favorite things to do is when you're talking with the realtor, you ask them the question, hey, if we're sitting here 3 years from now, what does your life look like? Where everything business and personal is exactly where you want it to be.
Mm,
Another version is, hey, if I could wave a magic wand and your life is exactly the way you want it to be, like what's it look like?
right.
And you can kind of see where they want to go. Like for me, I literally never want to stop working with my real estate clients.
Right. Right.
You may talk to a realtor and they say, my goal is to build a 7 level Keller Williams real estate team. So, as soon as they can, they want to get out of working with buyers. Well, that's
Right.
probably going to be a tough person to spend time with, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
even though they're going to be in business, if they're not working with buyers, it's going to be a lot harder than someone that's actually working with buyers.
That makes sense. It kind of sounds to me. I just recently talked to a broker associate realtor here in my town, interviewing them, and one of the things that they mentioned, like they love to still work with first time home buyers sometimes, and I know that's a subject for you that's iffy. But what part of what I got from it is they work with a lot of listings. They work with a lot of property management. They do work on that end. And part of what they mentioned is that there's, like, for them, there's a joy that comes from working with people still looking to buy a house that you don't necessarily get from the people looking to sell. And so that might be an indication that you're describing, to say, well, this person, there's an aspect of their business. They're not just optimizing for, like, getting out of this part of the process. They enjoy part of the process that makes us a good fit. Does that sound right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And, another part of that is, if you talk to them and they're like, yeah, I'm a buyer's agent now, but I can't wait to only work with listings.
Right.
That's kind of a similar thing. One of the, well, working with, in the masterminds that I've worked with, seeing people that still enjoy the business like for decades. I go back to that mastermind where everyone, made 300 grand or more.
Right.
Everyone in that room, except for the one that lost $500,000 that year through pay per click, everyone else, they worked with both buyers and sellers. And because they're working with people they know. And, they
Right.
might have, showing agents, they might, they've got team members, but all of them work with both buyers and sellers. And I've found
Right.
most agents that are in the business for a long time end up doing that
Right.
because part of the issue is if you're working just if you got buyers agents, you're giving away half the commission. They're not
Right.
going to close as much. Like it's not as profitable.
Right.
It wears you out. And so find agents that are going to be in the business and want to work both sides, that just really love people, because from my experience, those are the people that are happiest. Unless, like I've got some friends or a husband and wife team, like one of them works the buyers, one of them works the sellers. But again,
Mm,
like you're dealing with a couple there,
right.
like it's
Right.
that seems to work really well as well. They both work, both really.
That makes sense. So you're not necessarily, when you're saying, finding somebody that's going to be a business for a while, when you're looking at it from this perspective, it's not necessarily whether or not they'll be successful as a real estate agent. It's more like, will they be the kind of realtor partner that there's going to be opportunities for years to come because of the way that they perceive their business. When you have somebody that is really optimizing toward, I want to get out as quickly as possible, I want to reduce my time involved, I want to do that, then you also know that means they're not going to be front and center with relationships. They're not going to be at that anchor point where they're that connection to the types of deals that are going to make sense for you. Especially knowing if they really just want to optimize for the listing side, then they're not going to have the relationships as much on the buy side to be able to send over. Does that sound right, or am I missing something?
Yeah, yeah, I think you nailed it. Maybe it's you know uh, maybe another simple way to explain it is someone that enjoys real estate and wants to do it for a really
Right,
long time, and
right,
usually that's somewhat like and wants to practice real estate. Like they don't want to
right,
build a big team and like be a CEO. Like they want to do real estate.
right. Is there anything else that you would hear that would make somebody not a good fit, or is it mostly that end of just leaning toward the listings? Is there anything else that you've seen or experienced? Because well, like as a for instance, what I hear from you in that is you may be talking to somebody who's they might have success in real estate, but they won't be the right kind of partner that's going to end up sending you referrals, right? Do you see anything else that's more in the vein of maybe they just won't be successful in real estate at all? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, and I think the more that's why having a good conversation with the real estate up front, asking the magic one questions, you
Right.
know, which so that actually goes into let's jump into it. Number two. Number
Love it.
two is you actually help them grow their business. So
Mm,
step one, you find a realtor that's going to be in business. Step two, you actually help them grow their business, which makes sense.
right.
And um, because I mean, at the end of the day, we're in real estate to make money. Like if we're not
Right.
going to make money, there's probably other stuff we could do. That was always one of my things. Like I tell my clients, I only get paid when it closes. So far, so good after 13 years.
Right.
Like we are going to get you where you want to go, whether it's buying or
Right.
selling. Because if I didn't, I'd just go sit on the beach.
Right.
Like that's
Right.
um, and so at the end of the day, real estate agents, they like, I mean, most of them, and if you're a lender, you hear this. Usually, whenever I tell a lender this, they're like, "Oh yeah, like makes sense." Realtors want to close loan or close deals and go on vacation. Like that's not what we want.
Right.
And so, if you help them grow, if you help them close more deals, systemize their business, handle capacity, if you help them do those two things, grow their business, go on vacations, they're going to really love you. Which, part of that is, you find out where in that conversation, find out where they're stuck, right?
Right.
Like, what's your bottlenecks? And you've got a really good system of is it getting clients, is it servicing clients,
Right.
what are your buckets that you've got?
Oh yeah, yeah. So you've got create business, you've got service business, you got manage business, you've got work on business. I think those are my four main buckets. Um,
Yeah,
in terms of how what your business systems are. So create business is all the stuff that creates opportunities. Service is how you actually deliver on it. Manage business is all the stuff that's more like the you know like tax structure, and I've got like what's my way that I pay my employees, and those sorts of things, right? It's the stuff that it's not actually the work of the business, but it's still necessary in order to keep the thing going. And then work on business is all the stuff that really you do to optimize any of those other buckets.
yeah. And so going back to an agent that's going to be in the business, what I've found is that the agents that are going to do well are really willing to do anything that's
Right.
legal to get going.
Right.
And like I don't knock on doors. I don't call FISBOs. I don't do open houses. But you know what? I tried it all up front,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And what you got to kind of find what works for you because there's so many different ways to do it. And so to find a realtor, you get to find out like what have you done? Are you taking advice from your broker? Um, are you open to my suggestions? Do
Right.
you have a coach? What I found is, the agents that have coaches are usually, I mean, who you want to work with, you know.
Right.
Um, and maybe if they're, if they're not, my suggestion isn't to work with newer agents, but some newer agents, like if they're like, I want to hire a coach, I don't have the money yet, right? Um, and they're willing to do whatever you say.
Right.
Like what are they willing to do? What have they done, and are they willing to follow direction? Right? Are they willing to try
Right.
stuff?
That makes sense. So there's a little bit in this process of sort of maybe seeing like, hey, people, do they want help? Do they actually act on that help? And some level of really just experiencing that. There's some things that are a good indication of if that's likely to happen if they have a coach, if they're working with a coach, if they're showing themselves open to doing things in order to get results. Um, there's other aspects where it's like literally you might just put it out there and see what comes back, right? Where
Right.
they say that they're open to it, you try it. Do they take action, right? Do they do it, or do they find excuses to do something different? Because that might be a good indication of if they're in that bucket, right? Um, what have you found? So you mentioned like help them grow their business. So I know like so far part of what you've mentioned is kind of getting clear with them. Where are they? What do they want to do? What are their bottlenecks? Have you found that there's any like consistent ways that you've found, to help lenders consistently be able to help realtors grow that works in line with a busy schedule um and all of that?
Wow, you tossed me a softball. Yeah, yeah. That's really my specialty there.
Right.
Which is, and I would say this goes back to number one, realtors that are going to be in the business for a long time.
Right.
Does the realtor believe in sphere of influence marketing? You know,
Right.
um, do they want to work with relationships? Because that literally all the agents that I know that still produce and enjoy real estate are working primarily with people they know. And I go back
Right.
to that mastermind room. All of them were relationship based. And
Would it would it would it be fair to say? I mean, I don't know. This might not be the right way to look at it, but it's like if I'm looking to get a lot of referrals from somebody, like if that's what I'm optimizing for, would it be fair to say that a person who's getting a lot of their business by referral is a good indication of somebody who's used to that style of marketing and interested in that style of marketing and would be a better fit?
yeah, yeah. And what I think most lenders have found, if you haven't done this with a realtor, it'd be pretty fascinating. If you sit down and start with a realtor and say, all right, let's look at all the deals from your last 12 months. You can even go back
Okay.
last 24 months and let's see where they came from.
Right.
What you're going to find 9.9 out of 10 times, like it's almost 100%, is like 90% of their business is going to come from Sphere and people
Right.
they know. And the fascinating thing is if you look at their time, they're probably spending 90% of their time looking for business outside of their sphere because
Right.
the
Right.
industry has this lie that you can't have a great business just from your sphere. There's
Right.
very few people that that are like the voice in the wilderness, like me, like Joe Stump, like Larry Kendall with Ninja Selling. Um,
Right.
you've got a few, Buffini, but uh, yeah, most realtors, all their business comes from their sphere, and most of their time is trying to figure out some way to get business outside their sphere. And so if you
Right.
can just help them see that. Like, hey, well, what if you cut out that other 90% and did nothing else? Or like, what if,
Right.
like what can we do to keep you in front of your sphere more? Because that's really where the business is.
Right. Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, finding ways. I mean, so that's really the key, right? So if we find the right people who are likely to have referrals, right? They're likely to be in business and be in business in a way where those referral opportunities happen. Like that's our first step. We don't want to go after the people where those referral opportunities likely dry up if we've nurtured this relationship, right? So we want to optimize for those people. And then we want to actually help them, right? That's one of our best ways to attract referrals, is to be a source of business that they find that endears them to you, that becomes a great part of what makes them think of you, right? And so very specifically, one of the strategies that you found that really helps in that front has been helping them get in front of that group of people that's likely 90% of their business anyway, and really just do that right, like helping them, empowering them with the reality that they can get enough business from there. It's actually great to get business from there. It's people you enjoy working with. They have less headaches, and you'll make more money in the process for less time invested. It's really the Michael Scott win, right? It's win 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 all the way around.
Win, win, win.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, love that. Love that.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
okay, so we help them do that. Is it time to go to the next step? Do you want to talk about the next step, or is there more in
Uh,
that process?
I'd like to give a couple just simple things that you can do as well.
Okay.
So most realtors, like I believe most realtors can easily do 20 deals a year if they want from their sphere,
Right.
especially if they're top of mind. So you help them stay top of mind with their sphere. You also help them realize how valuable that is. And
Right.
so, like what a lot of my lenders do that are in the real in my growth catalyst system,
Right.
they help their realtors. They've got two lists that they look at each morning: their warm list and their hot list. And we've talked about that
Right.
before.
Right.
And so, if you just help your realtors realize who are the people likely to move that have asked something in the last year, 6 months, who are the people that need your help now? And if a realtor just wakes up in the morning and looks at those two lists, one, it's going to grow.
Right.
Two, when people reach out, they're going to be like, oh, this needs to go on the list. And three,
Right.
they're going to help them. Um, and when you talk with the realtor, you can actually talk to them about their warm and hot list and be like a sounding board on, all right, where are they? What can I do to help you get to the next step?
Right.
If a realtor, just because so many, I've thought about new realtors that I've mentored, the ones that do well, they actually have a really good warm and hot list.
Right.
And the ones that don't, they get someone interested and then they never talk to them again, or they talk to them once
Right.
every 3 months. Versus like when they're hot, you need to talk to them at least weekly, you know.
Right.
And which, all right, so there, that goes to the next step, which is
Right.
once you've helped a realtor grow, then you build a relationship with the realtor.
Right.
Because, and this is where like my growth catalyst clients really love our system, because they say it gives them a reason to reach out to the realtor without asking, hey, do you have any business? Hey, have you
Right.
forgot about me? But like you actually have you're reaching out to serve them. You're
Right.
reaching out to help them grow in like a meaningful way. You're reaching out to them because you've learned what their magic wand scenario is, and you're really helping them get there too.
Right.
Um,
It
and
makes it
so,
makes me it makes me think of something that I feel like we've talked about this before. I don't remember if we have, but uh, the idea of sometimes you need some sort of other excuse to do the thing that you actually want to do. Uh, and coming up with those excuses can be counterintuitive sometimes, because it's not always obvious, right? It's not, the
right,
thing that you want to do, and the thing that leads there is a step removed. The thing that it makes me think of is um I like talking to people, right? Like I like having conversations. And there are some people in my life that I'd like to have more conversations with. Like I just like to talk to more. But when you sit down and you think, I just want to talk to this person, it's like nothing happens. right? Like there's
Right.
no conversation that happens because for some reason it doesn't click that way typically. And so I found that I often have to have a different excuse. And I found two things being really useful for that. Campfires and board games. That when you do those things, you create the environment, you create the space where the conversations naturally happen. And so you get that end result, but it lets me know I need to start with the fire, the bonfire outside, or the board game, because it creates this thing where there's an activity happening, but the conversation naturally flows as a result. Makes me think of like what you're describing, where you know that you want to be talking to the realtors continually because you're not going to build a relationship with them unless you are, right?
Right.
But just calling them up and saying, "Hey, I'd like to chat."
Right.
uh, it doesn't nobody feels good about that process, right? Like it
Right.
doesn't feel right. So you need something else. Does that sound right?
Yeah. You and 70 other lenders just want to chat. Uh,
Exactly.
I'm I'm jumping around like Iggy Pop. I'm so full of caffeine from coffee with lenders, you know? And yeah, and so like the lenders that we work with, and Mark said it last week. He said to be able to call a realtor and say, "Oh, hey, we haven't done our duo video," which he uses to help grow their business. We need to get one of those on the calendar. It's a really easy, like you're able to actually call them and give them what they want,
Right.
And what's cool is because you can make the call all day,
Right.
but if a realtor doesn't have any business, if they're busy, um, like they're not going to answer your call, and then you've got call rejection, or you just, get tunnel vision and thick skin. You're like, I don't care. I'm going to be the caller.
Right.
Um, and or you're able to. What's cool with the videos that the lenders do is the realtor actually shows up. Because
Right.
really at the end of the day, my buddy Keith Edmonds that's uh, goes around speaking. He says, you spell love with Time. At the end of
Right.
the day, you got to have time to build
Right.
a relationship, and so that's the last part of it, because at the end of the day, um, great realtors that you're helping grow their business, and you've got a relationship. You're really building a moat around that. Like you're not just laying in bed at night be like, I hope the appraisal doesn't come in low and they leave me for another lender that's chasing,
Right.
or because I mean stuff happens,
Right.
and so the relationship really solidifies that, because you're working with people that it's worth investing a long time with. You're helping them
Right.
grow, and the best realtors are great at relationships. And actually, I know, like I want a loan officer that can help me, that I'm in a
Right.
relationship with, where together we work through that stuff. Like it is a huge
Right.
relief uh, to know that I've got someone that's going to bend over backwards for me, just like I'm going to bend over backwards for them,
Right.
versus just two transactional relationships.
Right. Right.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
That
it,
makes so much sense. And part of what's powerful too about this process is, it you got to find the right people, you got to help them grow their business, and you got to develop that relationship. But part of what's powerful that I know your system sort of naturally, like, the first step is finding the right people, and there's some foundational things, but you really don't know if you have the right person until you've built out that relationship too, or at least you're in that process of it. So, part of what I know that you do that's so smart too is like, this isn't just a step one, step two, step three. It's step one, step two, step three, but they all reinform back to the beginning too, right? You're the right people are also going to
yeah,
be the ones that you can help grow their business, right? And part of that
right,
is going to be people who are in alignment around this process, and you get the feel for that in talking to them. And then again, like you said, well, you're only going to build the relationship if they show up, right? And so
right,
the people who also are in alignment with that find it valuable and do that, like, you get to have this natural process where you start with the right step and you develop it from there. But it also goes back to part of how you find the right people is by doing this process, right? Where the ones that are going to be a good fit they are going to be the ones who do consistently show up in this process when you have the right tool to build a relationship with them. Because if they aren't, then that's also revealing that they aren't the right fit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is great. Shoot, it's good to know when people are not going to be the right fit, are going to be the people who will waste your time, right? It's good to know that as soon as possible, rather than, think that you have all these people that are equally suited and end up finding out that they're not a good fit, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. And a good realtor is going to, refer you potential clients. They're going to send you friends of theirs that are looking to refi. Like they're going to like just because for me as a great real estate agent, I refer my friends to people no matter what. Like my goal is to be the ultimate helper. I've
Right.
got a friend right now. I'm helping him see if he can rent his house and connecting him to the right people. I get paid nothing for it. And at the end,
Right.
he's gonna be like, "What do I owe you?" And I'm like, "Nothing." Like, this is this is my realm, and so I'm gonna connect you to the right people. And so
Right.
like I'm happy. Like I want to be able to help my people get into contracts. I've had clients need to get out before, and I work just as hard to get them out as I do to get them
Right.
in.
Right.
Like whatever I can do to connect them to the right plumber, the right financing, um, and once you get that relationship too, there's something really valuable. Programmers often they've got the duck test, and they put a
Right.
duck on their desk, and they talk to the duck because sometimes you just got to talk to someone.
Right.
And if you can get to that place of the relationship where like you can actually talk through problems with clients, talk about life, like actually help each other get where you want to be, that's a beautiful thing, you know.
Right.
And um it's possible, and it's really, really rewarding.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've seen it in practice. I mean, man, with not only what you do and hearing your own stories of how you sort of figured this out by nature of having to do this yourself for your own business and figuring out how it can help lenders. But man, we meet together weekly, multiple times a week actually. But and man, I am constantly hearing stories from you and the people that we're connected to about, and I have these deals popping off this week as a result of working with Charlie and working this system. And it's new people every week. It's new people every time, new deals happening. And so it's so powerful, just to see that in practice, that this process that you're doing, it works. It works for you, it works for the lenders, it works for the people that you've designed it for, right? It's really well suited to completely change the nature of how people expect to do business, where it doesn't feel like painful work, but you don't have to spend as much time. The people that you are spending time with, you enjoy spending time with. The clients that you get through the process, you tend to enjoy them too. Everybody's in the same game together, rather than feeling like you're constantly competing with everybody and everyone's skeptical. And it's not that. It's like this glorious thing that you figured out that brings the right people together at the right time, and you do more business together. It's magical.
Yeah, it's enjoyable. I know Mark. I think this week he says he's taking off Thursday, and he's going with some of his top realtors. They rented a cabin, and they're going to go Whitewater Rapids. In the middle of the week, so they're going to leave Thursday morning, come back Friday afternoon,
Love it.
and like he was like, I mean, I work 2 hours a day on stuff that feels like work. I guess this is work, but it's fun, you know,
Right.
and it
Right.
can be, you know.
Right. I love it. I love it. Man,
Yeah.
that's so awesome. So remind me again, what are the three steps that people need to do to get these results?
Find realtors that are going to be in business for a long time, help them grow, and build a relationship with them.
Love it.
You do those
Love
three things, um, and you don't have to do it with a ton of people, and it doesn't have to take a ton of time, you know. But that's what you need to do. If you're interested in that, reach out to me. I've got some ways and methods to do that. And then, yeah, that's what we do.
Love it.
Referrals way to
Love it.
sleep.
I definitely encourage people, take them up on that offer, reach out, probably wherever you're seeing this video. There's going to be some sort of way to connect or reach out. And man, I recommend that you do. It's there really are. There are only so many things that I've seen where so consistently, it's so well matched where a service is geared to the right people in a way that it reliably works for them. And they get to just see those results pour in consistently. There's a lot of stuff out there that people could do. Whether or not it fits is harder to determine. But man, this process for the people that are doing it, it's getting great results. It actually feels fun. Somehow you've managed to make it super reasonably priced, and almost at times it feels like you're too cheap. But but hey, find that out. Get that opportunity. So and yeah, I love it. People should definitely reach out.
You're the best. All right. Well, hey, we'll see y'all soon. Glad we're back on this. And Zach, thank you for coming here, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.